Okay, so let's call to order this November 15, 2023 meeting of the South Elementary School Building Committee. First item on the agenda is public participation. It's the point of the meeting where we invite the public to come in and present questions and comments to the committee. Not that we will act on them tonight, but at least take it under advisement perhaps and put it on a future agenda. But seeing no members of the public here, I guess we can move on. Item number 2 is acceptance of minutes from October 11, 2023. I assume everybody has seen the minutes and have had a chance to review them. Any comments or?
Can I add an amendment to add Ms. Dolan as the present member of that meeting?
So amended?
To the roll call vote.
And to the roll call vote.
Thank you, Dr. Wu.
Any other questions, changes? Can I get a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Invoices. I believe we all got an electronic version of a copy of the vendor invoice package of October 2023. You guys happen to have I don't have a copy. Can I? Thank you. So, I don't know, Tim, do you want to go over the
Sure.
invoice?
So the invoice package.
Make sure
has-
your microphone's on.
Oh, yeah. So the invoice package has the usual invoices, which are from Vertex OPM for $9,200 and from DRA for $42,400 for feasibility study, and then $18,788 for environmental insight, for a total of $70,388. So if you could make a motion to approve those invoices?
So I'll accept the motion to approve the invoice of October 2023 in the amount of $70,388.00.
So moved.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the vendor invoice package of October 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Just for informational purposes, we're about 50% billed on the $1 million budget.
Thanks, Tim.
Could you circulate the signature
Yep.
page and make sure it ends up with me so I can get it in?
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the MSBA board meeting of October 25th. Tim, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, so for those of you who were at that meeting, it was obviously a successful meeting. We knew it would be. Those are pretty much pro forma meetings. A lot of good compliments about the project that we've heard and good comments that were made. The big news otherwise on that meeting was the fact that they've really significantly increased the reimbursement rate, the most that they've done in any single board meeting by far in the history really of the MSBA. So I think, when we went with some rough ideas of what we thought might be the town's share, we're going to be significantly better than that as we move into the schematic design and get the final numbers. So I think that's the big positive, that increase in the reimbursement. The other news, or not news, but they're really trying to facilitate a lot around the incentive, the rebates for incentives for sustainable buildings, and particularly around, but even for PV and for geothermal. So we'll be talking more about that, I think, in a sustainability update next month? Yeah, we're going to do a sustainability update next month, and we'll have more discussion on that. So there's no action on that.
Nope.
Any comments, or?
Any more discussion?
I think it's pretty exciting. Mr. Chairman, it's pretty exciting to see a $173 increase on that difference, which includes both building and site. It is their biggest increase.
Yeah, they recently got new legislation that helped them out financially significantly, so they were able to increase it across the board.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
It was nice to see us not only get compliments, not all, they didn't pause to necessarily comment on all the projects, but compliments on not only the design and the plan itself, but also the consolidation aspect. There was some compliments in that, noting that not all districts are supporting that and appreciated our support of consolidation.
They did seem to be very, very positive, more so than I've seen at other board meetings on other projects, so did seem to go well.
We call it the Joe Buckley effect.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll go with that, yeah. Any other comments? Okay, next item, number 5, is community outreach. Evidently, there's an update on some short videos on project issues to be shown on SMAC.
That's from
Yeah, maybe that's a great idea. This is the most recent, this is what we're planning on around the videos. So, we've talked about doing these short 3 to 4 minute videos to have them ready for kind of on the website for people to be able to play, to get on various aspects of the project. So the first one on the existing conditions of the South School, we're hoping to have that ready for December. The number 2 is the choice to consolidate and the presentation of the reason around that, and which I think also we're looking at in December. And then videos 3 and 4 are basically around the scope of the proposed project, in terms of the interior of the building, the exterior, including the site, and then also the community benefit that aspects of the project. And then we're looking at in January, and then the last is the video 5. It's kind of the nuts and bolts about the project schedule, the cost estimate, tax impact, et cetera. And that would be ready in February when we have that information solidified. So this is our plan to do videos. We still need to talk more about getting, at the first of the year, we did discuss not doing any real community forums while the holidays are going on, but come January, we are going to want to move pretty significantly into doing community forums and road shows and things, because we will know then a lot more of the details, some of which we're going to talk about tonight, around the project, and be able to be pretty comprehensive in how we present it to people. So that's the plan from the point of view of community outreach. And as you can see, just kind of the target we have is to essentially finish the schematic design cost documents for cost estimates in mid-January, and then we'll have more than just one community forum around this, and we're probably going to have at least one in January, February, and March, and April. And then we will have the submission of the schematic design report is for the end of February, and then we are still targeting the MSBA board in April. We actually have the date of that board meeting. We'll make sure we fill that in. And then we're looking at the town meeting, obviously the regular town meeting. We'll have to discuss the strategy and with the moderator and how we want to present the case to the town meeting. And the ballot, the debt exclusion that we're talking about. So that's the timeline. We're moving on to it. We have critical decisions to make. We'll be talking about that later on tonight. And, otherwise, the building really is kind of set, I think, in terms of just some of the final programming that I know Courtney and DRA is moving through with the district around. But that's really more related to just sort of solidifying, what we want to carry in the estimates. It's not, there's still going to be a whole design process that goes on post-spring when we start the design development, so that'll be much more intensive programming meetings. So that's the timeline. Any questions?
Tim, how are these videos going to be accessed by the public? Is this going to be posted?
I mean, they're going to be on the website. The plan is to put them on the website. You can go on the website and see them. I think that we also talked about doing some sort of a loop with the cable SMAC. We talked about whether those would be, I think we're going to put those videos up, but we also may do some select interviews on that, like sort of staged interviews. We did that successfully with the high school. People seem to respond well to that as a way to, additionally get the information. But primarily, it's going to be the website for those videos.
Tim, just to let you know too, we now do a weekly newsletter on Fridays that comes out of my office, just general information, so we can link every Friday whatever video we want to put and just keep rotate. We can do 1, then 2, then 3.
Oh, that's great.
Rotate them.
Yeah.
And that goes directly to all employees and all of our families that are,
Yeah.
and you can also get it if you want to register with us as just a taxpayer.
Yeah.
Does like the library or anybody else, any other groups send out something similar to that to people in the community?
So the library is talking about, the Friends of the Library group offered to purchase additional monitors because the library would like to do loops of, the video might be a hard sell for them, but certainly some sort of information with a QR code where people could come up, scan it, and play it later. But they're hoping to have something where the current bulletin board is that would play the town crier on those sorts of announcements on a loop for people to find this information. So I would definitely talk to them because they are looking into having some sort of community space for these important announcements to go through.
Oh, good. Yeah, we'll reach out to them.
I have a meeting with the director of the library tomorrow, so I can bring it up.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
perfect timing.
Perfect, yeah. Yep.
Great, thanks. Any further discussion on the videos? Okay,
Just one small comment. I'm sorry, yes. Thank you, Katie. The last video is the end of February, is that correct?
Would be in February, yeah.
It would be in February. Will we show it again before, just concerned about the length of time between that and town meeting
Oh, we'd show it continuously.
continuously?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
all of them should be able to be
Yeah.
accessed at any time.
yeah. They'll be on the record. All of them will be kept up. They'll be added to kind of like way Dr. Baeta was saying, we'll do 1, then 1 and 2, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Just want to keep it in forefront.
I believe SMAC also has the on-demand function online, so you can launch it at any time through there and probably through our building committee page as well.
Right.
So I think there'll be a couple of different avenues through the newsletter to locate it.
anything else? Okay, moving on. Schematic design. I guess, Courtney, maybe you can give us an update on the schematic design process?
Yes, so tonight, everyone should have received a link to the PDF that we sent out. This was a presentation that was on November 1st to the working group. Warner Larson has put a lot of thought into the site design and the different elements around the building. And both Ty Johnson and David Warner are here remotely with us tonight. I'm going to bring them up just so you can see them on the screen briefly, and then they'll be talking about the different concepts around the site that we can incorporate in the various areas, because there are different types of play areas for different age levels and different activities that can be incorporated. So everyone can see you, David and Ty, just but I'll bring you back down so that we can look at the presentation while you talk.
Great, thank you, Courtney. I'm Ty Johnson, I'm a principal at Warner Larson. Thanks for having us tonight. As Courtney mentioned, this is what we presented to the working group. It's 22 slides, we'll keep it brief. Obviously, if there's questions, let us know. Just as a, this is an early stage in the process, so a lot of what you'll see are examples of other projects that we think may be suitable for this project, as we go through different examples of play areas, of outdoor learning areas. So nothing is going to be set in stone. The detailed design happens in design development. Right now, we're really just generating our budget and our scope for schematic design. So, yeah, let's walk through it here. And just the site, everyone's probably seen the site plan at this point. If not, I just want to make a quick mention of the vehicular circulation and how that works. Courtney, I think you go to the next slide, actually.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so there's a couple things we're working out here, but in general, the cars and buses are separated in terms of the way they do their drop-off and pickup queue. You can see the main parking lot in the middle. The number of spaces has been identified, as what's necessary for the school. And we've accommodated that. Kindergarten is going to have its own drop-off. And our goal is a safe and place for pedestrians and vehicles alike, and for efficient drop-off. So let's go ahead to the next slide and get it a little bit more into some of the imagery we'd like to share with you. And this first slide is just a which requires no specialty maintenance requirements. All right, so the next slide, please. Just want to start out with some thoughts we put down on paper here about how the main entrance might work. Here you see a enlargement area where the bus loop and the parent loop sort of come together at the main entrance to the building. And we want to create a sense of place, but be able to circulate and accommodate the children going to school, leaving school. So we've generated a couple different ideas. This is where we like to get a little artistic. In here, we might do slightly raised landforms. I mentioned the native tree species and more of a curvy look, if you will, with different durable pavements that may have different coloration, and that's what you're seeing with that light yellow color. Next slide, please. And here's some photographs of other projects that we've worked on. We've also pulled from some other projects locally to show some of these ideas and what they might look like. We have, large seating areas for children, in different locations for, drop-off or arrival and for pickup. The pavement area is shown on the bottom left of different coloration. That's the park over by the high school. And then we have, these sort of smooth pebble-like boulders.
again, these are the kind of things we're thinking about right now. And, at this point, we want to establish the budget and make sure that the material palette and the items we include in the costs are appropriate for this school and, equal to in other elementary schools that are within, on a MSBA projects. Could you go to the next slide, please? So another idea in the front of the building, this one we call the Woodland Trail. So in this one, we're thinking that these green areas may actually be slight depressions, which accommodate stormwater and allow for rain gardens. So a little bit different idea, a little bit different geometry. You see there's a seating area kind of up by the main entry canopy with various benches that kind of have like a naturalistic look. You can go to the next slide, Courtney. There are those benches we were talking about. They're these nice smooth benches for sitting on. And then if you did have kind of lowered landscape areas, I mean, we're not talking about standing water or anything, but you could have a boardwalk that crosses them. Maybe there are trees in here, native trees, and a low ground cover. Obviously, visuals are very important from a security standpoint. You want to be able to see through. We don't want to block any views. We can go to the next slide, please. So let's talk about, so that was the front of the building and the drop-off circulation. We've also are starting to look closer at some of the outdoor play areas around the school to accommodate the different age ranges. Kindergarten, usually we end up giving them their own area. It'll be fenced in. And here are some different ideas of how we might include different play elements. And so these are the kind of details we're going to be getting into more in design development, but some of the bigger ideas, tricycle tracks are very popular. We find those to be something people really like. When it comes to play equipment, there's a lot of different ways you can go. One of the picture of the cocoon at the bottom is designed actually for people on the spectrum if they wanted to. It's called a cozy cocoon to sort of get away and sit by yourself, but it also serves as a spinning play element. Sandboxes are also something that some districts like, some schools like them.
I'm getting
some don't, but
head shakes.
if you're considering everything at this point. And all this is we're thinking about what it looks like and what's going to give it its feel and what's going to make it elevate to a nice welcoming play area that's safe and secure. And so these are a couple of precedents from looks like Millis, a recent school we worked on at Millis. Next slide, please.
So this is a local, if it's in Millis, this is something that we could potentially visit, or someone from the district could visit if they're interested in seeing it.
Yeah, we did that school.
This area is another precedent that our office worked on. This was actually for pre-K, and I know that's not part of your student population at this school, but just as examples of a tricycle track, of different play equipment. In this case, it was more focused on ramps and inclusive design, and then they also had a wheelchair and a mound made out of the synthetic turf. This was a nice, successful little play area that was fenced in as well. So similar to a similar size as you might see in a kindergarten playground. Next slide, please. And here's some more for the kindergarten level. And The sensory, on the bottom picture is a sensory panel, which are good, they're inclusive design for all abilities. And this one in particular has kind of an interesting shape where you can approach it from different sides. But these are pictures from a project we did in Somerville recently, with swing sets. Basket swings are a nice element to include because they allow for group swings, as well as it's also considered an inclusive that kids with disabilities could use. Next slide, please. So the area we're looking at around the building for sort of I guess you call it the bigger kids, either first or second through fifth grade. That's a wide range of age groups to fit in this area, but we want to look at a combination of advanced play structures and as well as sort of more open play or other things to do for probably the fifth graders who may lose interest in play equipment. But the web climber you see on that top picture, this is a school in Danvers, and you can barely, the picture's off to the side there, but that top left picture has a really neat web climber, which we find is a great piece for some of the older kids because they can use it to hang out in. It also is it's challenging, good for physical fitness. So this is the back corner. We're also looking at maybe as an open synthetic turf or lawn area. Synthetic turf actually serves a great, even if it's just for passive or recreational use, it's low maintenance. You have to worry about mowing it. So that's one thing to consider. This back area, we're also cognizant of, emergency services getting back there, ladder trucks getting back there. So it would be a combination of hard surface play as well and inclement weather back there in this area. And then we've been discussing, what kind of fencing, if any, would be necessary. There's been discussions of perimeter fence, and then you don't have to actually fence off this area specifically. But that's sort of a separate conversation. But those are the things we're looking at here. You can go to the next slide, Courtney. And we do have another area on the project that we have dedicated hard surface play and basketball. And I don't think I have precedent images of that, but just so everyone's aware, we can look at the site plan again. But that bottom left quadrant on the plan is dedicated for hard surface play. Here's some more pictures from Millis, integrating slope into it with embankment slide. And one thing we did do here is we reused play equipment. They were able to take down recently installed play equipment, move it to the project site, and integrate it for obviously a cost savings. And they had nowhere else they wanted to put it in town. So if that was an issue. And then, swings do take up a big amount of footprint. So we're looking into that. We know there's always a desire to have swings. So we're going to want to consider that as well. Next slide, please. Another example, this Arlington. So that circular play piece of equipment there is wheelchair friendly. It actually spins, so you can roll on there, and then it serves as a spinner, and it's a relatively safe type spinner. I know there were comments about, the old style playgrounds, merry-go-rounds that may be unsafe, but some of these newer models have a little bit more, less concern with that. And then in this case, there was a request for really an inclusive design with ramps so that the play structure could be accessed in all levels of ability, and that's what that comment about it's less challenging, and that's really why, because in most cases what we do is the play structure is customized so that it provides a certain percentage of play elements as handicapped and wheelchair accessible. And in this case, it was a lot higher percentage. There was a directive to use more handicap and wheelchair friendly elements on this project than required by the code. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, this one, just to show you some different safety, this is actually, that has different safety surfacing designs. That's the poured-in-place rubber surfacing, which is, it provides the safety and resilience for, to reduce head injury, and that is something it also provides the best in terms of accessibility as well. Now, some playgrounds do have the engineered wood fiber, which is a lot less expensive, but not fully considered ADA accessible. In this case, the entire playground was done with the unitary poured-in-place rubber surfacing. There are options to do sort of a mix where you have some areas with engineered wood fiber, some areas with the poured-in-place rubber surfacing. That would be more of a cost consideration to do, as this is it's not inexpensive, this product, but it is certainly the best in terms of accessibility and safety. And let's see, we can go to the next slide. It's just a little space-themed poured-in-place design with a interesting structure with the enclosed slide tube, and then on the right is a neat little climber, which we like. We like the climbers. They accommodate a lot of children at once. They provide challenge, and they're also kind of a kind of neat looking feature a lot of times without taking a large footprint. So they serve a lot of purposes. Something to consider. Obviously, we want a diverse play. We want to provide all types of play. So that's something we're going to be working with a working group to make sure that's every type of student and ability is represented. Next slide, please. And yeah, so this is a really neat project in Somerville that we worked on. A couple features here. One is what we did to allow handicap access to the structure. We provided sort of this loop that goes around the playground that actually goes up in elevation. So you're climbing the elevation on the concrete walkway, and you can enter the structure from sort of a higher level, if you will. So taking advantage of a little bit of the grade change, the topography there, to make a little bit more interesting and inclusive design. And then here, the stunning structure with various slides and climbing equipment and places to go was a real hit. And yeah, this one did have the recycled plastic. So there's options besides just metal and plastic. You can do these boards or whatever that look kind of like wood boards are actually the recycled plastic material with metal posts, obviously the structural posts. There are some other wood options out there in terms of they do stand the test of time, durability wise. Different wood elements, so that's an option that we're seeing a lot of districts go for. There's different choices there. We can go to the next one. Now, outdoor learning is something that we want to include in this project for sure. And it comes in different forms. Sometimes it's a gathering space with, sometimes it's a little bit more of a seating area where attention is paid toward the front, and there might be a blackboard or a whiteboard. Also, we provide more of like a working area with work tables, might be an option as well, where students might break up into groups or something like that and explore. So that might include different materials for the surface. You can do some creative sort of natural solutions for the seating, integrate different stormwater ideas into it. With the picture there you see with the sort of the raised platform deck that sits above, yeah, that one there, with some natural boulders. You can go to the next slide. And then shade, obviously, is nice to have. That one had the pergola. Here you see some other solutions ranging from simple to more intricate. We do think that in general, if you put the outdoor classroom closer to the building, to the entrance, they get used a little more often. That's one factor in use. Obviously, another factor would be actually having curriculum to go with it, would create more use as well. But here's some other choices. The one, top left one is Millis, and that was made out of recycled plastic material. It serves as sort of a hangout spot as well, for after school hours. You can go to the next one. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the opens up world opportunities for different sort of simple natural materials to create exploration zones. The bottom right is Danvers. That's stormwater, dry stream bed. We have bridges. And you can do some interesting logs, natural plantings, and just let it go wild. You don't have to worry about necessarily maintenance. The kids could do the maintenance, but if you wanted a little bit more diverse plantings as part of your science class, for example, letting things grow, letting things, using it as more of a laboratory for the plantings. Think of it that way. So these are some other ideas. And so we did identify this as maybe there's another location on the plan up by the kindergarten area. So the outdoor classroom, the more sort of formal area might be in the back. The building's a pinwheel shape, so we're kind of working in all four quadrants, if you will, of what's most appropriate and what fits in these different areas. Okay, the next slide, please. And there is a green roof element to the project, which also basically creates another outdoor learning possibility. This could be something as simple as just some outdoor planters. The green roof will have at least some of like a permanent rooftop, green rooftop, if you will, a vegetated roof, which serves its purpose of, multiple purposes of slowing down stormwater retention, building cooling, and so forth. But then also there'll be outdoor areas that will be accessible for students to go to for seating, and these planters, I think we really like that idea. You see on the bottom. The top left is sort of a low tech, just fill up a bin, a galvanized bin, or in the bottom right would be something a little more formal. And they do create separation between some of the vegetated areas that kids can't go onto. But obviously the perimeter is going to have, of any green roof, would have adequate safety fencing around the sides.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's simple. A lot of times we go do simple here. We don't want to go crazy. We do want to have a water source up there. You know, it's going to be some kind of storage if you do planters where kids can work with that. Those could also be on ground level, though. They don't have to be on the rooftop. But in general, garden planters are something that a lot of schools like to have. Next slide.
Yeah, and just before we go, real quick, there are
Sure.
two areas where we have the rooftop access. One is off of the STEM program classroom, so that is designed for students to go out, and the other one's on the third floor off of that common area, which is a little bit smaller. So it's not necessarily designed to always bring a class out there. That might be more of a faculty spot.
Mhm, yeah. Yeah, I just realized that is my last slide, so
Okay,
you probably stop there.
okay.
Courtney, if I could step in for just a second, I want to say thank you, Ty, for walking us through that in great detail. I appreciate it. We want to leave you with an impression is that there's no one size fits all. Everything we design for outdoor learning and play is very custom and very unique. And the design development phase is when that's all going to happen. And as Ty pointed out at the beginning, you know, we've worked on so many projects now. We have all these inspiration photos that we're proud to show you. It's not supposed to be a portfolio exhibit, but really to show you that every project we work on is unique, and we're really excited about, you know, getting into the detail of this design. What we're showing you here is just to, if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it at this point, but to also reassure you that we're carrying an appropriate scope that's going to be in the SD budget that's going to allow the design process to work with and produce something that is going to be unique to your school, that your school community is going to love, we hope. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Did you have any of the slides that anyone gravitated towards or had comments or questions about while we're looking at them tonight?
I'm going to defer to the principals really, because they're dealing with the students on a day-to-day basis. I'm at 35,000 feet. I mean, I have views, of course. I have views, of course, but I think the principals need to be a core part of this decision-making process simply because they're the ones that are seeing the recess, they're the ones that are seeing the before and after school needs, and I think the way this building is being built, the hour-to-hour need of going outside and an area to learn. And then the only other part I would say is making sure that it's, you know, here we are, we talk about 21st century learning, and we're in 2023, about to be 2024. And so making sure that we're thinking about that, because if this building's going to be with us for the next 50 years, you know, there'll be changes to it at some point with playgrounds and recess areas and all that, because it's just, that's what happens. But simple is good.
I'd like to hear more from the facilities folks to understand, you know, what the long-term implications of maintaining and keeping this equipment safe and in good shape. I see there's a lot of stuff here. I'd love to know what, you know, more information about the longevity of some of these surfaces and some of this equipment, and really depend on Joyce to kind of give her 2 cents and her group's 2 cents on their concerns about maintenance.
Thank you, Joe. I do have some definite.
I'm sure you do.
I also have some definite, you know, likes and dislikes. And just with what we have between, I mean, what the town built, and we're incredibly appreciative of what they built, is not from a brand name process, I guess, what we would go with, because we do have a history with a couple of manufacturers, not just with one, for longevity of equipment, for things like ropes that really don't need the kind of maintenance that others do. And it's all about safety. And we see, you know, connections pulling loose on the other one, and we see other things that you know, our custodian is out there checking daily prior to the school day, just to make sure it's safe for the kids. So, you know, yes, I want to look at making sure that we're including those kind of quality specifications more than anything. I look at the rubber surfacing, and I had a great talk with some playground installers. And there's some things, it's the way to go. I mean, we talk about a hybrid with engineered fiber and rubber surfaces. But where we've got a couple of hybrid type things, in our case, it's a crumb rubber than a rubber surface, they don't work well in terms of just trying to keep the one element out of the other, constantly out there trying to maintain it and blow it and recapture some of the stuff that gets away. But I'd rather invest in the product. The one talked to me about making big circles in like landing spots at the bottom of slides. And I was worried about the more customized you got, the more costly it got. And he goes, no, it's the cost per square foot's the same, but when that area wears out, and it will, at the bottom of a slide, you've got a defined circle you're replacing, and it almost makes it easier to not have to blend. And there were a lot of great tips, and I think as we go forward into this, I would like to make sure that, you know, I'm not coming into a place, if I have to put mulch in every year like I do at my 8 playgrounds, I have over $10,000 worth of mulch a year that I spend. That's not insignificant when you look at how frequently I would be maintaining rubber. So, thank you.
You actually answered a couple of questions that I had, because I was wondering about like the what did I write here? The like life expectancy of the rubber versus, I mean, it has to be better than mulch and the engineered stuff. So I would assume, I guess, I know, well, just to share with the group, like there is a small group of us that are planning on looking at a couple of different examples out in the communities, because I feel like they all look brand new, but I know some of the schools and they have been around for a little while. So I'd like to see how it ages, and then also how some of these things are used, because
Definitely.
there's some really cool things. I mean, Katie obviously does not love the spinny things, but
It's one spinning
you know,
thing that she doesn't.
there's a lot of
okay.
there's a lot of really cool stuff. I think we just want to make sure it would be used, and then I think the other thing is we have the opportunity to do something unique. And we've talked about this as a community space and wanting to draw in, you know, like I would love if people came and parked in the parking lot and used this spaces on the weekend. So I think, and if you have, like, I saw the space theme, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
and that's like farther down the road, but I think to think about like, what is cool? Like, I know communities have had like really cool parks that people want to go to, and that means the kids want to be on there and they want to use it. And being able to have some kind of step up element from the younger playground to the older playground. How is it different? Because it shouldn't just be all of the same. So that's just a couple thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, to clarify, the reason I don't like spinning equipment is because of all the injuries we had, so, and a seizure. So that's why. But I do have to say that the playground at our building is 5 years old now, and the climbing structures are the number one thing that the kids love. And the more complex they are, I mean, the kids just gravitate to that. So that is, I agree with that. I think that was said. So the swings are also another big thing that they absolutely love. I was interested too in like all of the outdoor spaces for the outdoor learning. And I think that if there's a way to make sure that there's plenty of seating, I think that is definitely going to make it more used. Because I think that that's one of the things that we're all lacking now, just naturally by, you know, that we don't have it. So I think like some of the stadium seating that I saw with some of the steps, because of the grading, naturally allows for that, and I think that will really get utilized a lot. I also agree with the closer to the building, the more it will be used. And if you're looking at longevity, I do like the idea of having some kind of a surface out there. I'm not sure if a blackboard would be necessarily the best way to go, but some way to have a place for a teacher to teach something before the kids go off to then do their learning. Because if you really want to optimize that outdoor learning, the whole lesson should really take place outside.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a really cool thing to incorporate.
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing quickly on the outdoor space. We have like staffs that really use every part of buildings. I mean, at the South, I know it's because we need to use every part of the building, but you know, I think you have really creative staffs that, as you think about these, like the different outdoor spaces on the rooftops and the gardens and they will use all of these spaces because they're there and because they're available. So I think that that's, the more spaces you make that are unique, the more spaces that will be utilized and like regularly utilized. I could see classes being out there every single day. So, and then it being sustainable is the other thing. I think what we do see is, we have like PTOs and PTAs that kind of take on a lot of these things sometimes, and then over time, those groups might change, and then things kind of fall away. But and not for any reason, but just because they kind of ebb and flow. And so I think having these things be able to be like take care of themselves and renew themselves, and purposefully done that way, make a ton of sense.
I was just going to ask Courtney, I don't know if this is possible, but we've mentioned before the idea of taking a couple of these by school district and making a communication with the district and having a couple of folks just go out and see it. Because I think when you see something that you might have some question marks about, then it really comes down to the long-term implications of the facility stuff. So if it's really good and we know it's quality and good for kids, good for the sense of having a community concept with the school being used beyond the regular school day, that could be a deal breaker for the way how some families support the school or don't support the school.
We can set something up if we know everyone that needs to be involved in that, for sure.
Make sure you have one with a spinny for Katie.
Please. I did have a question. I didn't see, and it could just be because I didn't notice it. Were there any places on some of the blacktop areas for like a basketball net? I didn't,
Go back to the original, the site plan that shows everything overall.
I just can't remember. Because that's another big thing that, it is, okay, all right.
It
I
is
was
off
gonna
the
say,
cafeteria and the gym.
okay, perfect, because that is, the kids love, the older kids, when you're talking about like trying to differentiate for the little ones to the older ones, that would be something that I see that the older, at least the older kids in my school like to use.
And can I add that when the middle school civics project wrote to us, that was one of the things that we're looking at, that one of the kids were, set of kids were looking for, with more basketball spaces in town. And there really isn't any basketball space in that sort of town other than Dana Barros. So an outdoor space where they could use on the weekends, I think would be extremely popular. So this area right here, we have a couple foursquare, little squares, as well as the basketball courts, the half court. And that's right
now,
off the
when-
calf and
when-
the gym.
I don't think we're planning like a court or anything, it's like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know in the, would be very good. How are people, I think in general, for community access, like, this is a pretty secluded site.
Yeah,
there's no parking
on that side.
We'd have to think about how much we want to open it up on the weekends for people to just go to and park and. That's something to think about.
Where the field is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would
Right
probably be what
right
you'd
in
have
that
to do
area.
is some.
Yeah, if you want it to be more utilized on the weekends and stuff, that's probably a more opportune
And the
location.
bus area looks, sorry, the bus area looks like it's probably too small. But again, very central, parking right on the other side. On the weekend, you could, you're parking right there basically if you needed to.
I mean, if that soccer field's the way it's been with the both going one way and then there's one going, I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, because you couldn't use the two fields at the same time.
Multi-purpose.
Yeah, just being able to divide it in different ways.
Because I was thinking like you could put like a hardscape surface there for basketball or something, make it more of a.
Also have to keep in mind that this would also be a full-size court, which currently doesn't exist on this side of town, inside. So even just I know you can't like go into that necessarily, but there will be a draw as well, because currently like
To go right here.
I know.
most,
but that, like,
I know the South has a very, very small gym.
On Saturdays,
Yeah, without any.
nobody's seeing
Right, but at least like
anybody.
leagues could play there, and so yeah. But I think an outdoor one would be good too.
Well, and you're
Just
talking
thinking
outdoor,
about
the basketball court here is used constantly at Halloran Field. It's,
the one outside our school.
yeah, it's amazing.
I hate to mention the word pickleball.
I was thinking it, you got the vibe.
What did you say, pickleball?
I hate to mention that,
Wow, that.
but I have to say, the sense of community, yes, we'd have to keep it closed during the school day, but, or more than likely, but we do not really have that in the community. There are folks looking to do it. I don't know what the cost would be in this project and how much of a change, but boy, oh boy, that little area over there right before the fields, I mean,
The
ample for
trees?
parking,
And you don't have neighbors to complain.
and you don't have
about the
neighbors to
noises.
complain. It could be very, very positive as part of this project, and I don't think it's an over-financial area. I mean, you're talking about a you need to have a good surface, you need to make sure you have the good paint, and you need to make sure it's fenced.
Yeah,
Other than that,
if you want it lit, that's when it's starting to get expensive.
yeah, when you want it lit, then, you know, then we, and that could be, you know, something that, you know, community preservation could be a discussion with.
Right.
That, you know, that, because there is no place in town, so, and this town is big enough for more than one place, and it's a wonderful opportunity to bring in our, I hate to say it, but it's the over 50 crowd that really loves pickleball. And it's picking up with everybody, but, so it's again, last minute, but a true opportunity in this project.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned it sooner. Like, it is very, it's
I'm
popular in
54,
my
that's
town.
why.
It's popular in my town, too. We can look at that and see if there's an opportunity for a, multi-purpose court.
And also great for our students, the idea that they can exercise using things like pickleball or pick up basketball during gym class and potentially be over on the soccer field. I mean, that could be fun.
Yeah. So we'll take, these comments are going to be sort of summarized by Eric as part of the minutes, and then we'll make sure Warner Larson gets them as well, just as they start their thinking around planning.
Can I add one more thing about, what you were talking about, making the site unique and to Stoughton and special to Stoughton? And when Courtney and I were at Stoughton Day, talking to the Historical Society members, one of them mentioned that Fana Drive was the old railroad and there was a railroad station nearby. There was also farms on the other side, and that may be something exploring, that may be, that may be one way to differentiate the kindergarten and the upper kids. I know the kindergarten is above the train station or some sort of theme to that sort of play area, or you could do train tracks on the rubber or something. So I think talking to the Historical Society might help us get something that would be unique and work it inside the building as well. We could make it sort of a theme running through the building or something, but I know we were very inspired by that
The
discussion.
South Station Playground.
Yes, yeah.
I like it. All right, any other comments tonight on site design?
I agree with Katie on the outdoor amphitheater type of space. I just think that will be utilized by families if we could have events outside. And if not, then bring them inside. But I think just getting that environment going, and also just other groups, like I'm thinking Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, who can go use that space, really, to have some of their meetings exactly. So I feel like that type of seating that could also be used for lunches and obviously outdoor classroom spaces, it would just become really multi-purposeful and have a great breadth. So I think that was something that stood out to me that I think would be, I don't really see right now in any other school. So I think that'd be a really great feature and a really great draw.
Just one more comment. I just also want to be really mindful of shade, because we really have none, and it gets hot. It
Yeah.
is hot if there's no shade. I know that there's going to naturally be trees in the area, but
Right,
I
right.
think that's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to, we just probably need to just be mindful of that. when we're-
I'm glad you brought it up, because it was in my head, because 3 of these locations are on the south side, and especially if you have like a teaching location, your outdoor classroom, would that be a nice opportunity to bring in some shade in that gathering spot? Even over here, especially for teachers that are out there with all the kids running around. The north side, you're not gonna get as much just because of the height of the building. It's gonna be shaded a lot more. And then just to respond in terms of those amphitheater outdoor areas, there's one opportunity right here, really close to the building. We could even look at something, out front, if that's something that would appeal to you. And then we also have the one that's shown over here, adjacent to the field zone. So if, the older kids were able to go out there and do, have a class, they could, or the PE class or what have you, could do that and then integrate that into the field play.
Court, just as a, I think the pickleball went over well, but I'm not sure this one's going to. So I'm thinking about, we do have some, wetlands over there and all, so now I'm thinking about bugs. I'm thinking about mosquitoes, and in the world of Triple E, is there any way for us to dig into any of that information for that area? In terms of,
Like what exists currently?
yeah, kind of like what exists currently. I don't know if the Norfolk County spraying would have any type of information about that area.
Yeah, and I don't know if part of our MEPA review, if that's even on the
Yeah.
radar for them,
It-
but that's a good question.
It's just one of those things that in today's world, it's, because I've worked in prior districts that we've had to put out the propane tanks, and then they're checked every day, they're changed on a regular basis. That was my Holbrook project,
Okay.
because of the woods in the back were so wet, so, which is fine, it's just having that knowledge that that's something that we have to take
And
care of.
we start spraying sooner at the south than at any other school in the district currently.
I was gonna say that too, but.
And for ticks and for mosquitoes, and yes, and it's not gonna be much different in terms of that location.
But on like the rubberized surf and stuff, you are cutting down.
We absolutely, cutting down the wood mulch will be tremendous.
Which is, especially
Yes.
considering the woodiness of
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
No, it's good to have everyone, thinking about that ahead of time for sure. And sometimes in our David or Ty might be able to respond to this too, but I know that in we've had like rain garden zones, when we show the rocks help distribute the water and help it to evaporate more quickly, which mitigates that standing water issue.
Yeah, I didn't hear the question, but, yeah, in all cases, any rain garden would be designed to completely drain out within 24 to 48 hours. Usually those areas wouldn't be, and the rain garden's closer to the actual play activities, would probably drain out a little faster than that. The intent is not to have standing water for any period of time.
No. So in the design, we could take care of that. There was a concern also of the adjacent wetlands areas too, and, is there any evidence of Triple E or mosquito borne disease in those areas?
I hate to keep prolonging this, but a conversation that we had earlier, if we're looking at the option that did involve the bridges and extended access further back into the lot, their opportunities are there for adding some additional decking type, if you will, out into some of these areas and I grew up in a town that has a living lab that is nestled between the elementary and high school. And it's well utilized, and there are some benefits to it as well, as long as you're prepared and doing the management of the bugs and.
And Warner Larson just did, I think, was it Sunita Williams designed a similar type learning lab adjacent to a wetlands.
I missed that on my self-guided
That
tour.
is over at Needham as well.
I just think it's important to the working team that you're building something that even to Joe's comment earlier, and I think it was Catherine, that this building is more than just an inside building.
Yeah.
From the start of you folks coming together and beginning this design phase, this connection to the outside has been there. So, and I think that's great. I mean, the whole idea that there could be pickleball, outside tennis court, even if it's very simple for the kids during the day, potentially adults and others in the evening, and all the other stuff that Warner Larson just mentioned, allows for just this extension of the day for kids that we really do not have in the other elementary schools, and allows for creative learning for kids. Project-based learning is the first thing that I think of when I think of something like this. Getting out of the classroom and really enjoying and taking care of the outside. So thinking that way right now doesn't lead to any change orders later.
Right. Are we good?
I guess we're good. Any more discussion, questions, concerns? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David and Ty. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay on. We do have a couple more agenda items.
Thanks for.
The next item on the agenda is new business. At this point, we'd like to entertain any discussion of new business or anything that folks want to bring up.
I was just through you, Joe. I was just going to mention, like I did this morning, that the parent-teacher organization meeting with leaders that I've started here in Stoughton, that organization's meeting is this coming 29th of this month, and I will be taking up the idea of, if you will, leaders, if you will, of the project, very much the PAC type of leaders, and I'm going to be looking at all 5 of the schools, not just the 2, as to see where people are and stand, because we do need that part of outreach to start probably right after the first of the year, and once we have some further specifics, so just for informational purposes.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, the last item on the agenda is Fano Drive easement. We had a fair discussion this morning with the working group on what we need to do to access the site.
Oh, we're going to go into executive session.
Yeah. Under exception 6 of the executive session, under the open meeting laws, exception 6, we can go into executive session to consider purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on negotiating position of the public body, us being the public body, of course. And I do believe that an open discussion would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of this committee. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to have this discussion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
May we add that we are not coming back to general session after executive session?
We're not planning on coming back to general session after executive session, correct?
Just for
We're going to adjourn in executive session.
And just for clarification, it needs to be a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? So, I don't have the list of the roll call.
I have the list.
Yeah, oh, Liz, you want me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. Dr. Byetta.
Aye.
Jake Dorr.
Aye.
Katie Monahan. Aye. Joyce Husseini. Aye. Melissa Lynch.
Aye.
Catherine Weiss.
Aye.
Eileen Sprague.
She's here.
Thank you. Diane Dolan.
Aye.
Did I miss anybody?
Joe Buck.
Oh, Joe Buckley, I'm sorry. Your name's not the bottom in big print. Joe Buckley.
Aye.
And our esteemed committee here as well. Eric? Are you voting are you guys voting members of the, okay, then you're all set.